Have you ever heard a CEO just ramble on? Probably not, right? Why is that? CEOs do not get to where they are by rambling on and saying too many things and giving too many details when they communicate. CEOs get to where they are by having a very specific skill set and certain characteristics. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think one of the most important characteristics is for a CEO. What we're going to talk about is one of the most underrated discussion points in sales in general, and that is clear communication. If you've been in a meeting with a CEO, you will notice they speak in a certain way. They are very succinct. They're very concise. They don't speak too much, and when they do speak, it is usually a very actionable point. What we're going to talk about in this video is how you can be a very clear communicator and how you can build your skills to communicate in a way that's going to help you in a business context. One of the biggest giveaways between amateurs and professionals is your communication. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in watching other sales reps, or even when somebody else was trying to sell me something, and the amount of words that they use to describe something is exhausting. It's exhausting just thinking about it. This is actually one of the things that people are going to notice first. And of course, they're going to notice other things like the way you dress, other things that make a first impression, your handshake. Of course, all of those things matter. But after all of those things, there needs to be a discussion. And this applies in any form. So this could be email, WhatsApp, face-to-face. It applies in any scenario where there is communication between two people. And what you will notice is that amateurs will use a lot of words to describe something and a lot of detail. And professionals will use very little words and they will get to the point very, very quickly. In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that, because that is what is going to make a big difference in whether you are meeting who you want to meet or if you're being pushed back and meeting with roles and other positions that you don't want to be meeting with. So as an example, if one of your jobs is to cold call, or if you have to make phone calls as part of your job in sales, which most salespeople do. Let's say you're trying to get a hold of the owner of a company or the general manager. If you call and the receptionist answers, who do you sound like when you speak? Do you sound like the receptionist? And I don't mean voice. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the words that you use, the confidence in your voice. Do you sound like somebody that takes orders or takes direction? Or do you sound like somebody that is giving orders? Because I promise you, if one of the main aspects of your business is making phone calls and you are having a hard time getting through to the person that you want to speak to, it is no fault of anybody else's except your own. It has nothing to do with the list. That calling list is perfectly fine. If there's a human being answering, the calling list is fine. It has nothing to do with the time of day. It has nothing to do with that person's attitude on the other end of the line. The main issue is you and what you sound like. Because when you're on the phone, you only have one tool, and that's your voice. Now, if cold calling or calling in general is something that you'd like to learn more about, just put that in the comments below, because that is a very interesting topic, and cold calling is very much alive. I know a lot of people say, oh, cold calling is dead. I completely disagree. It also depends on what industry you're in. But I'll do a whole video on very refreshing techniques that you can use to have a much higher get-through rate for cold calling. And I've been doing it for years. Let's say that you're calling to get through to the general manager or the owner. And what you want to do is you want to call and you want to sound like the general manager or the owner. So what do they sound like? You want to make sure you sound confident. You want to make sure you're not using too many words. You want to sound like you have a certain authority, but you need to be polite. So if you do this correctly, the receptionist that has answered the phone, in most cases, they're going to put you through to that owner because you sound like them. And subconsciously, that receptionist is going to feel obliged to do that. Now, if you're an amateur and you have not really worked on your communication skills, you're probably going to have an issue getting through to the owner because they are going to hear the uncertainty in your voice. They will be able to hear that you are not of that level where the owner is. So why would they put you through to them when they feel that they're on the same level as you? And these are all things that come back to how are you communicating? Are you using too many words? Are you confident? Are you speaking too fast, too slow? So there's a lot of elements that go into communication. I'm going to give you a few tips that can help you have much more clear communication and that can really, really help you in business. The first reason you would want to have very, very clear communication is because if you don't, your message is actually going to get lost. So research has actually shown that people only remember 10% of what you say. 10%. If I tell you people only remember 10%, there's only one word out of there that you're even going to remember. That's crazy. That means the more you speak, the less chance people have of remembering anything that you have said. So if you have a very, very important point to get across, the last thing you want to do is put all these extra words and details around it so that your actual point is completely lost. Can you relate to being in a situation where you ask somebody a question, a very direct question, and instead of giving you the answer, they gave you a lot of detail, and you're thinking to yourself, what's the point? Are you even answering my question? It is extremely frustrating. And so for you, flip this around. For you in business, being a professional, you never want to do that. You want to be very direct, very short, very concise. The second reason that you want to do this is that people will start avoiding you. The higher you go up in your career, you will notice that professionals will actually start limiting their interactions with people that take up too much of their time. So you know that person that when you call them or when you sit with them, and let's say you have to for some reason, let's say maybe they're a family member or a friend, or they're a business associate, and let's say they generate a lot of income for you. So you have to have some kind of interaction, but they take up a lot of your time because they talk endlessly. Do you know somebody like that? When you see them calling you, how do you feel? Do you feel like, oh great, I can't wait to answer this phone call? Or do you feel like, oh my God, I can't talk to them right now. I'm busy with other things and they're gonna take up 10 minutes of my life. I'm never gonna get those 10 minutes back. You are never going to get those 10 minutes back, ever. They're gone. So if you want your clients to always answer your calls or not avoid you, you need to be very careful about how you communicate with them and that you're not wasting their time. Because the higher up you go in the professional ladder and the more C-level executives you start meeting with, the less they will tolerate people that waste their time. So if one of your goals is to meet with a lot of CEOs, you need to be super clear with your communication. Otherwise, you're not even going to get a chance to meet them. Forget about what you're going to do at the meeting. That meeting's never going to happen. How are you going to have clear communication? The first thing you're going to do, you're going to think about what you say before you speak. Now, if you're an extrovert, this is going to be very difficult for you. And if you're an extrovert, just mention that in the comments below, and I'll do another video on extrovert characteristics. But just very quickly, to give you an idea, a lot of people confuse what an extrovert and what an introvert is. So if you ask an extrovert a question, you're going to get immediate words, and you're going to get a lot of words, because what they're doing is they're thinking out loud. If you ask an introvert a question, you're going to get silence. And then you're going to get an answer, because they're thinking internally. And if you're an introvert, also let me know in the comments below, because that's a very interesting topic, especially to do with sales. Okay, so you want to think about what you're going to say before you say it. So if you're an extrovert, that's going to be hard, because your natural reaction is going to be to speak. So you will have to work on this if you're an extrovert. If you're an introvert, this is very easy for you, because you're naturally going to be quiet and think about what you're about to say. The second thing you want to do, speak slowly. Research studies have shown that people think that you are smarter if you speak slower. Now, if you speak way too slow, it's going to be weird. You can't do that. But if you speak really, really fast, people don't think you're as smart. If you can find that happy medium where you're speaking at a level, it's not too fast and not too slow and weird, then people will actually think that you're smarter, which is great. The other reason that you want to speak slowly is because it gives you time to think about what you're going to say. The third tip I have for you is use as little words as possible. So the less words that you use, the less chance you have of sticking your foot in your mouth. Another interesting research study showed that people that speak less are regarded as more confident and smarter. And wouldn't you like to be regarded as more confident and smarter? Probably, right? The fourth tip I have for you is go straight to the point. Now, a lot of people find this counterintuitive, especially if you're being asked a question that you don't want to answer. But there's nothing more irritating, especially to a C-level executive or a professional, than them asking you a very direct question and you not answering it. There's nothing more irritating than that. Always give a very direct answer. You start with the answer, and then you give a little bit of detail. And my rule is, you are going to speak for a maximum of 10 seconds. 10 seconds. It sounds like that's nothing, right? It's actually a lot. So you get to the point, you answer the question, and then you give a little bit of detail, maximum of 10 seconds. So take these ideas into consideration and consider subscribing for my channel if you like the tips that were given on this video, and drop a like. I would appreciate your support, and see you soon.